So today I want to talk about a question that I see asked again and again, and that is, do I need to speak another language in order to teach English? So there's two ways to look at this. There's the essential way and let's call it the thrive way. So first of all, do I need to speak another language? No, not at all. If you're coming to another country to teach English, then the whole point of you being there is that you speak English with your students. So I've been living here in South Korea for 3 years now, almost 3 years. And in my classroom, I speak almost exclusively English. The point of this is that the supporting language in your classes will also be in English. Things like, come here, stop that, start, do you have a pencil, where's your textbook? Things like this are also in English, so the students are kind of learning the supporting language at the same time. The idea is that your classes in another country will be immersive. In fact, if you took a look at one of my classrooms here in South Korea at the moment, I have 3 different classrooms in 2 different schools at the moment, then outside on the door there is a sign that says immersive English classroom, immersive English experience. So yeah, for the main part, when you are teaching students, you'll almost never be using the language of the country you're in. You should be using English. Having said that, there are times when knowing a little of the language can really help. I've had some students who have a really low English ability compared to where other students in their class are. I've also had some special educational needs students. With these students, speaking even just a little bit of their language can really increase their enjoyment of the lesson. If they're not understanding most of the things that you're saying, then your presence can be really strange to them because they just don't know what's going on. But if you can relate to them just a little bit, even just with hello, then you're really going to increase their enjoyment of the language. What you'll likely find in many countries as well is that not only are you an ambassador for your country in your host country, but also part of the reason that you are there is to increase students and young people's exposure to people from around the world. Often when you go into a classroom, this will be the first time that a Westerner has spoken to these students. That means that you have an opportunity to represent your culture and your language to your students. It's an incredibly powerful thing and a big responsibility in my opinion. The second thing I want to talk about today is thriving. So yes, you can teach a language in a country without speaking the first language of the people you're teaching. However, you will have a far better experience of that country if you learn a little of the language of your host country. Does this mean that you have to be fluent in the language by the time you land? No, not at all. When I landed in South Korea, I knew no Korean at all. Now I know some Korean. It's a difficult language to learn. I remember doing my interview for my current teaching job in South Korea at the end of 2018 over a video call. And the person interviewing me said, have you started learning Korean yet? And I kind of had. I'd learned how to say hello and that was it. So I told them all about my intentions for learning Korean instead. Cut to 2.5, almost 3 years later, my Korean is a lot better. A couple of days ago, I was in a convenience store and there was this tiny little white dog with massive, beautiful eyes who was spinning around and yapping on the floor. And I said to the lady who obviously was with the dog, I said, 너희 강아지 눈 진짜 예뻐요. I don't know whether that's perfect Korean, but I was trying to communicate that, oh wow, your dog's eyes are really pretty. And she smiled and was obviously, we had a little bit of a connection, just a bit more of a bond. And that kind of thing can really improve your experience of living in a country. During my first summer in Korea, I was taught to play the janggu, the traditional drum that you often hear in Korean folk music. I was taught to play this by the janitor, by the caretaker of the school I was working at. He didn't speak a word of English, he really didn't, and my Korean back then was far worse than it is now. But we had a great relationship. He would often give me a ride home after work and I would practice my terrible broken Korean and he would practice his admittedly worse English. But because I'd put the time in to learn at least a little bit of Korean. I got to have that wonderful, incredible experience of sitting there with a guy who's been playing this drum, this difficult to play double-sided drum, who's been playing it most of his life and was showing me how to do this. It was an incredible experience that I will remember for my whole life. So in conclusion, do you need to speak another language to teach English abroad? No, you do not. When you land on the ground in your new country, I would not expect, nor would anyone expect, you to have a great command of the language of the people you are teaching. However, if you really want to enjoy your time in that country, if you really want to thrive and build a life in that country for however long you are there, then I would recommend starting to learn just a little bit, and you will pick up more over time. Learning languages is a dynamic thing. Sometimes you will learn loads in one weekend, and sometimes you will go a week and learn nothing. But it's a process, and it will increase your enjoyment of your life in your host country. Thanks for watching. Low Drag Lifestyle is about lifestyle design, minimalist travel, and the philosophy at the foundation of it all. If that sounds good, then get subscribed. I come out with brand new videos every single week. Hit the like button and leave a comment introducing yourself. I'd love to get to know you. Thanks everyone.